and Yaakov had to wait, and Yosef had to wait. Both of them, all of them, suffered very much for this misguided true love of Yaakov to his young son. So he's not only going around with this tunic while other people, his brothers, are going around with jeans. He is dreaming wonderful dreams. Dreams of his tremendous success and being the ruler of his brothers. These are dreams of Bechorah, of being the firstborn. So the first dream is about agriculture. To remember the sheaves, they are always, if you bind them in the waistline, they stand. But if you don't stabilize them, they fall down and they look like bowing down. So he's dreaming that his sheaf is standing upright. All the other sheaves of his brothers are bowing down. Probably this is what he saw in daytime, and this is what he dreamt in his... So you can dream what you want, but you don't have to tell it to your brothers who are supposed to be the bowing down sheaves. And they hate him. And then he dreams a more grandiose dream. The sun and the moon and 11 stars are bowing down to him. In this dream, I can't visualize it. I don't know where he appears in the dream. Whether he appears as a person or he is another star, this is a little unclear, but this is a grandiose dream. And he's telling it to his brothers, and they hate him, and they can't speak to him peacefully. They can't say positive words to him. And he recounts it in their presence to his father. And if you want to see it virtually, one of the greatest mefarshim of the Bible is Rembrandt. And he has a wonderful painting of all these brothers. And the youngster is telling his dreams, and Yaakov understands the gravity of the situation. And so to speak, rebukes him, says, how could it be that your father and your mother, you can dream about your siblings, but you dream about father and mother? Wow, it's not a decent dream. It's a very undecent dream. And this rebuke does not help to bring peace to the house, because all of them believe that the dreams are real, that the dreams are prophetic. And the dreams don't need interpretation. All the other dreams in our story need human interpretation. These dreams are crystal clear. Aviv shamar et hadavar, and his father kept the matter in his mind, which means his father waited for the dreams to come true, because the dreams were really not only the dreams of Yosef, they were the dreams of Yaakov too. So the house is in strife. And now something unbelievable happens. If you don't believe me, it means that you really understand the story. First of all, the 10 brothers go to graze. And if you know the geography of Israel, you know that in wintertime the Bedouins graze in the Negev. Because the farmers, the falachim, won't allow them to go on the ground on their fields, because they sow and then they harvest. But after the harvest, they will allow them to graze the stubs which remain after the harvest. So the law of the Bedouins, more in the British times when the land was more empty, was that they started Beersheba And slowly they reach Emek Israel. And this is what you have here in our story, that they start in the neighborhood of Beersheba, they reach Shechem, and finally they come to Dotan, which is in Emek Israel, in the valley of Israel. And very naturally, Yosef stays at home, so to speak, to attend to his father, and the others leave their wives, their children, and sleep in little tents out there in the fields, which is very difficult. But this is the lot of shepherds. And one day Yaakov says to his beloved son, I want you to go to Shechem and to see the condition of your brothers and of the sheep, of the herds. And he says, Hineni, here I am. And here you have a proof for all the lecture I gave you about Hineni, that he says Hineni after that the father starts to talk to him, which means that it is not a word of presentness, but it's a real expression of preparedness. All right, this we can believe. He's always a messenger of his father. So he will go around there, like investigating officer, and we'll see how do you work and how is your sheep. This is a mission which he likes very much. What is really, truly unbelievable, that he does not change his garments. And he goes alone to Shechem with the ornamental tunic. So he is a youngster, he's foolish. But his father, one of the greatest, shrewdest persons in the Bible, how blind could Yaakov be not to see the real danger which encounters all his family? So he's going with his tunic to Shechem, which warns us about blindness to reality. If you are so sure of what you want, and you get reassurance by the dreams of your son, really believe that nothing can happen to you, and you don't feel the deep hatred which you created with your own hands, it's not Jacob who is blind. We are all blind. When we do wrong, make wrong decisions, we are blinded by them. We are not able most of the time to see the consequences. So he's going, and he reaches Shechem, and they are gone. If he wasn't so eager to fulfill his mission, he will come back, he has a good pretext. They are not there. But a person, sees him in the field and asks him, what do you look after? And he says this wonderful verse, Et achai ani mevakesh, I'm looking after my brothers. You will find his murderers. But he thinks he's looking after Et achai ani mevakesh. He's totally naive. And there's a small miracle there. This person knows exactly where they are. And he says, I overheard them saying, we go to the town. So Rashi, who is not bound by the limitations of Pshat like myself, says, who is the Ish? The Ish is Gabriel, the angel. Because in the book of Daniel, Gabriel is called Haish, which is not a philological proof. But this is how children learn in school. Why did Rashi pick up this midrash? What did he want to say? Rashi knew that this is not Pshat. But this is the deep meaning of this verse. You take your marker and write, this verse is divine intervention. This is a verse of providence. God wants him to reach his brothers. And this man is not Gabriel, but he is a divine messenger. So the Pshat and the Drash are quite close to each other in this case. So he goes to Dotan, and they see him in his garment from afar, and say, Hine ba lachalomot halazeh ba, here is the dreamer, the great dreamer. Which doesn't mean a man of vision, but a man of vicious dreams, who dreams to be our ruler in spite of the fact that he is our younger brother. Vayitnaplu lo lahamito, and they plan to kill him, which means to use violence in order to forestall, to forestall the dreams. Just as Esav, the brother of Yaakov, after he was cheated, or Yaakov cheated him, or cheated the father, he says, Yikrevu yemei evel avi, my father will die. After the death of my father, I will kill him, and then I will abolish his plan. So you see the strife between brothers about the birthright. And Reuven, the real firstborn, says to them, we should not shed the blood of our brother. We can reach the same outcome by indirect murder, but you don't have to slaughter your brother. You can drip him into a pit and let him die by hunger, by, how do you say if you don't drink? By thirst. Which means, and I believe most of us feel like this, that indirect actions are less horrible than direct action. But the Torah says, Lahatzilo miyadam. The Torah says, no, he had a plan. In the dark, he will take him out of the pit and return him to his father. He was not able to confront his brothers and say, no, this is not done. But he had a plan to do it in the hiding. And Joseph is thrown into the pit. And unbelievable, but it's written, Vayishvu le'echol lechem. And they were sitting around above the pit there, condemning him to die out of starvation, and they make a feast up there. This was the degree of their hatred. Chazal, they are very mad. There's always a machloket, a dispute among Chazal, that we get only the selection of the person who cites them. So you can be sure that almost every midrash that you hear, you have a contradictory midrash of people of other opinion. Judaism is not so far removed from democracy as we often think. Machloket is a very basic institution in the Talmud. Very basic. So there is a midrash who says about what happened yesterday. והמלך והמן ישבו לשתות, והעיר שושן נבוכה. And the king and Haman were sitting to drink while the city of Shushan was disturbed. They decree a decree of death and they sit and drink. So the Chazal in one of the Midrashim say, this is a punishment. This is a punishment to Am Yisrael, which means, do you understand how far-reaching this Midrash is? It says that our forefathers were as bad as Hamelech v'Haman, were able to drink while they condemn a person to death. But Chazal were very much interested in divine justice. They say, we sinned, so we paid for it. The theological connection of crime and punishment. But I brought this only to show that Chazal are also some of them, critical of our forefathers, and even more far-reaching than I would dare to say.